Lastly, we're going to talk about a real-world example, which in this case is a retrofit situation of putting a heat pump in a home that did not have one previously. Here's our case study house. It's a 1950s ranch, about 1,000 square feet. It's in Richmond, Virginia. It has a functional oil boiler and uses window units for cooling, but the homeowner complains that the boiler is noisy. It's situated in a closet in the middle of the house. The homeowner also says the radiators are noisy because they pop when they heat up and cool down. Most importantly, these residents want to get off of oil. It's dirty and expensive, and they want to get rid of the window air conditioners. They're hoping to get a system that will be quiet and less expensive to operate. But, as always, the first concern is cost. If we're trying to make these changes to this home, what options, Sean, would you present to the homeowners? I know this happens to be your house and you acted as the contractor. So where do you start?
Some of the considerations, if I were an HVAC contractor, that I would want to take into account are, does the client have a specific equipment preference? Are there specific problems that the client is looking to solve? Are there any existing ducts that we would be able to reuse? And what equipment will physically fit in the space? That's often a large constraint with existing homes. So this is the layout of the house. The house is on an accessible crawl space and it has an attic with pull-down stairs. So the first decision point is, do we go with a ducted system or a ductless, since this house doesn't already have ducts? So if we're thinking of possibly going ductless, then the next question is, how many heads do you need to install in this house? Personally, I'd probably be leaning towards 5 heads. The smallest capacity for most manufacturers is 9,000 BTU. For some, you can find 6,000 BTU. If you end up going with that standard 9,000, then you've installed 45,000 BTU of capacity, which, having done a manual J calculation, is over twice what's needed. While the equipment is variable capacity, it's a whole lot of extra capacity that the homeowner has to pay for. It also introduces a problem of likely not having enough moisture removal ability. If you're in the ducted camp, which makes more sense looking at the specifics of this home, then it comes down to where do you put the ducts and where do you put the air handler. In this case, we can choose either the crawl space or the attic. The crawl space, we're able to have conditioned space down there. It's an encapsulated crawl. While it was very challenging to physically fit equipment in there, that did end up being the best choice in this house, just to keep everything within the thermal envelope, which also helped to reduce the size of equipment that was needed for this home. Again, remember that there are tax credits and some additional rebates available, so it's beneficial to work these numbers in as much as possible to help the homeowners out with that initial cost. One issue is that for the tax credits, the homeowner is still going to need to pay that cash up front or get credit up front because they won't see that until they file their taxes. Whereas with the rebates, you can get those pretty close to the time of the install, but those are much smaller dollar amounts.
Well, that's our presentation. As we noted at the beginning, we really would appreciate your feedback so we can keep making these presentations better. Here's the QR code you can scan to provide us with anonymous feedback. Thank you for your time today. I'm Andrew Grigsby with Veridient.
And I'm Sean Shanley.
And good luck installing high-performance heat pumps.